Welcome in Go Global Eastern Europe, podcast dedicated to founders, marketing and sales professionals from tech companies from our part of the world. The goal of this podcast is to help you grow, to build reputation, and more important, to help you get global clients. In this very first episode, I want to share you a little background of this project, my reason why I decided to start recording this, and also ideas for the future. Okay, so like in every good project, let's start to identify one important thing. Problem that we want to solve. And in this case, maybe that will be more than one problem. But to show you a little background, my name is Tomasz and I'm LinkedIn trainer, consultant and B2B marketing consultant. So I will tell mostly from this experience and position. So problem number one, when I'm checking LinkedIn profiles, websites, content of companies from a part of the world and anywhere in the world, it's often lack of positioning. That we are generalists, that we can sell almost to anyone, and we are just professionals who will deliver everything. And it's not stand out at all. So I think it's super important to share this message that we should position ourselves in that way that someone can remember us and we are different than our competitors. Another problem is that it's harder for us to build reputation if we are not native speakers. It's of course harder to communicate our ideas. We will have worse engagement because our friends for countries where English is native language, they will have colleagues from universities, from different stages of life, and they will have engagement from them. In our case, I am the best example. It's harder. Even so many people in our countries already speak English, but they don't react so well for content in English. But we will try to overcome this. And even in this podcast, when my English is not perfect, I want to show that it's still possible to become better, and also to have results from that kind of content, which it may be not perfect, but it positioning well to specific niche. Another problem is in case of companies that used to meet new clients through attending conferences, meetups anywhere in the world, and it was common among Polish software houses, for example, but they can't do this anymore. When I talk with this guy from one of the biggest software house in Poland, he said, it was so good when I can travel for conference and meet people and then sell them our service. Now it's not possible. So now the channels like LinkedIn, content marketing, outbound is even more important. Okay, so we have important problems. At the beginning, let's start with this. Probably we'll find more and more. But not only problems are my reasons to start this project. I want to talk with examples of success because we have many success stories in our part of the world, even from my home city, from Poznań. But also my big mission behind this podcast is to create community of smart people that have similar mindset from different countries from Eastern Europe to cooperate more. because I think it's our big chance to work together, because our countries often are too small, and I'm from one of the biggest countries in this region, from Poland, and even here I feel that it's country too small to be only in this market. Of course, many people are only in their local market, and they're doing well, so it's great, good for them. But it's sometimes it's not enough, and sometimes it's not to our reason. It's not to do well, but we have some specific ambitions, and in my case, I really like to work with specific type of people, uh, and it could be hard to find them only in my home country in Poland. Also, communicating in English and to have this ability to connect with thought leaders from different countries, from US. I learned like most of my knowledge from US. So it's great when we have this opportunity to be in this global market and to use this, use the chance that it was not available like for our grandmother, grandfather. So it's if we want to do this and we have some idea, it's our obligation to build our position on global market. But that doesn't mean that I don't love my country. I love it so much. I travel the world, but I decided to stay here, to buy a house here. And I think it's like patriotic act when we do our business in a global way, when we have clients from other countries, when we earn money from different countries, and then we pay taxes in our country and we spend this money in small businesses or maybe bigger businesses in our home city, home country, because our part of the world we still need to develop, we still need to run to achieve this level of life, like in Western Europe, for example. So when we have more money and more people will have good money to spend here, the everything will develop faster. Okay, but who am I to start so brave project and to have this ambition to integrate entrepreneurs from different countries, from so many countries? So my name is Tomasz Maciejewski. I'm born in Poznań, in Poland, in Western Poland. We are closer to Berlin than to Warsaw, but it was always funny for me that it was easier for me to communicate with friends from Ukraine, from Romania, for example, from Hungary, than with Germans. Even we are so close to Germany, and we have story so connected with Germany. My big passion was and still is traveling. So I started with traveling by hitchhiking. So it was also opportunity for me to connect with people in more deep way, because if you are locked with someone in the car for a few hours, you need to talk. You need to talk with this person. And I travel a lot across Germany, Holland, Hungary also. I traveled one time from Azerbaijan to Poznań, so across Turkey, Bulgaria, Serbia, Hungary, Slovakia. So it was great adventure, and it showed me that with my English I can communicate with people, I can communicate many things, and people are good. This is one of the biggest lessons, that if we live only in our country, we can feel, oh, this people in this country is bad. And for example, one time near the East Polish border, we traveled by bus and we talked with some old woman that she lived like 100 kilometers from Ukraine and she never been there. Because that people are so aggressive there and everything. And I think, whoa, so limiting belief. It's so great in Lviv. It's so amazing city now, restaurants, everything. But people are limited by their beliefs. But I hope that we can gather here in this, around this podcast, with people with similar beliefs, with this openness to the world. But I think it's super obvious. So, more about me, that after this hitchhiking part, my biggest dream was to achieve this digital nomad dream, to live, to spend few months in countries like Thailand. It was my very big dream, and finally I achieved this. 5 years ago, I spent first time 4 months in Thailand. I achieved my goal to spend winter in hot country before I turned 30, so it happened. After this, I traveled to many places. I also established this community in Poland for remote work. I gave TEDx speech about my first adventure, because I went to Thailand without so much money, with just few $100 in my pocket. So it was crazy adventure. And even I started to live this life, it was hard to find funds to do this. And I started to work as digital marketing freelancer. At the beginning, I was super excited. Yeah, finally I have money. Finally I can earn money from internet. And just do some work. And the afternoons I'm in Thailand. But later, when, with my entrepreneurship mindset, I was started to think, it's hard to be good in this, because to be good in general in marketing, it's hard, because it's hard to follow different news about Google ads, Facebook ads, and SEO, content marketing, outbound. Whoa, it's like impossible. So I started to look for different ways, and I found, for example, the book A Myth and Build to Sell. So in this book, it is this message that you have to specialize in something. And I was looking for my way. I tried to sell explainer videos in Poland through LinkedIn, and it was so hard. That time I lived for a few months in Ukraine. It was also super hard. But I learned that I can have meetings with people. I can have calls with them. So I decided, okay, if I can get leads, I didn't know that what leads, it's relevant to this, but from this time I learned this. If I can get leads, but I can't close these people from product that I'm not super advanced. But if I deliver leads to people that are advanced in selling their service or product, that could be nice. That could be a good profit for my possible clients, and maybe also for me. So I decided to test with LinkedIn. I went for the first conference in New Year in 2019. And during the networking break, when I talked with the really first person, and he of course asked, "What are you doing for life?" And I asked, "Yeah, I do LinkedIn." Whoa, LinkedIn? Let's talk more. And the first person became my client. So I saw, okay, this is really the sign that I should go more into this. And it started that way. I started as a lead generation agency. Later I found that it's better when this is done internally in the company. Why? Because it should be more personalized, and the template messages works worse and worse. So It's better to do this better inside the organization. And since this time I moved to Warsaw because of my girlfriend, now fiancé, and I met with Grzegorz Tudniak, one of the top LinkedIn voices in Poland, but he needed someone to help with some more advanced lead generation tactics, with how to use sales navigators and things like this. And how we connect? I was attending his lecture during one meetup, and after this I wrote to him, "Hi Grzegorz, thank you for this lesson. I implemented these lessons." So he was so surprised because not so many people implement knowledge. He checked my profile, and my profile was created to be really, really good. And he offered me to eat lunch and to discuss some opportunities. Finally, we conducted many workshops here in big companies in Poland. We conducted program for entrepreneurs, 12 weeks, and that was called B2B Mastermind. So it was nice start for me. I found that, okay, I really like to giving workshops. I'm good in this. I have good rates, recommendation after this. But I wanted to start to go global. And Grzegorz is still running his business in Poland as the employee advocacy consultant with other people. And I decided, okay, I want to go global. I want to start communicating in English on my own. And what happened? That experience that I think it's something that our generation wouldn't forget ever. COVID. It was hard at the beginning because I decided to work on my own without my bigger business partner. I started to communicate in English. I have like maybe one or two clients, that one of them also resigned. So what next? I decided to stay on track, to still communicate on English, to network with people. And finally, after a few months, everything switched to this position that I have the best business time in my life. I have great clients from our part of the world, from Ukraine, Poland, and others. I did many workshops for software houses, for gaming companies, from super advanced software companies that they are selling to clients in global market, and many others. So in this journey from hitchhiker to this point where I'm helping as LinkedIn consultant, B2B marketing consultant and trainer to companies, it was not always easy, but I'm super happy with this destination now, living close to the Polish coast. But in the few weeks we are moving to our own house. All I saved for it from LinkedIn. Okay, so I think it's enough about me, and let's talk a little bit about plans. So my biggest goal is, of course, to network through this podcast. I want to show different ideas, different success stories, and to make this knowledge sharing between our countries easier. I want to also build community around this idea. So we will probably create some Slack or Facebook group. But yeah, let's talk in the next episodes. If you are listening this later, check information below this podcast. Maybe that will be some information that community already exists, and we are sharing each other the knowledge, and we are helping each other. So yeah, that will be all for today. I hope that it's the beginning of the great journey, and I know that it's in my hand that if I will stick 10 years making this podcast, it will be a great journey. So finger crossed that many of you will join me in this journey, that will create great community, and I will see reason and the success stories after this podcast. Reason for me not to spend time in different way, but to create the best business podcast in English in our part of the world. Thank you for listening and see you in the next episode. If you can make good review in iTunes and other apps, it will be super helpful if you will make this in the beginning, because I know that it's so crucial to have good rates in the beginning, that I will be super grateful for any support like this. Thank you one more time and see you in the next episode.